Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Juki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Juki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashma Chila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashma Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashma Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashma Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatara Shatashma Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Mahābhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nuvarya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai नामचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय श्री भक्ति देवी की जय श्री पूर्णमासी योगा माया की जय श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद जय श्री रामानुजाचार्य की जय तदीय शुभ tīrobhāv तिथि की जय श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय गौड़ीय भाष्य शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय Śrī Nitāy Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, everybody. Sorry, I'm so late today. All right, I'm gonna share my screen and we will start. Ajnānatimirandhasya Jnānanjana-śalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujao Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro Kamalaya Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha. Jai 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 Vishwambara Dvijaraj Jai Vishwambara Priya Vaishnava Samaj Kora Chandra Jai Dharma Setu Mahadhir Jai Sankirtana Moy Sundar Sharir Jai Nityanander Bandhava Dhana Pran Jai Gadadhar Advaiter Prema Dham Jai Shri Jagarananda Priya Atishay Jai Vakreshwar Kashishwarir Hriday Jai Jai Shivasari Priya Varganath Jiva Prati Koro Prabhu Shubha Drishtipat Madhya-khaṇḍa Katha Jeno Amriter Khanda Je Katha Shunile Ghuche Antar Pashanda Madhya-khaṇḍa Katha Bhai Shuno Ek Chitte Sankirtana Arambha Hoilo Jeno Mate Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti vigyaya devi tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshai kshiptastakama ditaranga madhye kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I'm actually, because we're starting so late today, sorry about that. I'm going to skip all this and just go to the last verse here. Shahaje vichitra madhur chaitanya vihar vrindavana dasa mukhe amriter dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata are very wonderful and sweet. And when they're described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai. Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Śrī Nitāy Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All right, so yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't avoid it though. Yeah, sorry for starting late today. But we'll do a recap of the previous chapter tomorrow, but because we have a lot to get through today and I want to finish on time, I'm going to just jump right into this. Caitanya-bhāgavata Madhya-khaṇḍa chapter 24. The Lord displays his universal form to Advaita. We're going to read the whole chapter. Okay, so this is chapter summary by Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. Oh, and before I start, just seeing everybody who's here, Haribol, Bhavatarani Mataji, and Nuri Hari Prabhu, Krishnamai Didi, Vidyalalasa Didi, Ganga Mataji, and I see a few other devotees there. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Okay, so this chapter 24, describes the wonderful manifestations of ecstatic love in Śrīman Mahāprabhu's kirtan. Śrī Advaita Prabhu's dancing in the mood of a gopī, Mahaprabhu's display of the universal form to Advaita, Nityananda's arrival and darshan of that universal form, and the loving quarrel between Śrī Nityānanda and Advaita. They've had a lot of quarrels so far. Yeah. So we're going to read the full chapter today. 6,284 words. We'll finish on time. One day, when Śrīman Mahāprabhu, the inaugurator of Sankirtan, was engaged in various kirtan pastimes in Navadvip, Śrīla Advaita Prabhu began to dance in the mood of a gopī. As the devotees continued to happily perform kirtan, he continued dancing for a long time. Eventually, the devotees somehow pacified him and then sat down around him. When Srivas and Ramai then went out to take bath, Śrī Advaita Prabhu began to repeatedly roll in ecstasy on the ground within Srivas's courtyard. Śrī Advaita's distress was understood by Vishvambar, who was engaged in other activities. He therefore came there and took Advaita Prabhu inside the Vishnu temple and locked the door from within. The Lord then asked Advaita Prabhu what his desire was. When Śrī Advaita Prabhu expressed his desire to see the Lord's universal form, Śrīman Mahāprabhu, who is the desire tree that fulfills his devotees' desires, displayed his own universal form to Advaita. One second. Okay. Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu was at that time wandering about Nadia. As a super soul, he came to know about the Lord's manifestation of his universal form. So he immediately came there and began to roar loudly at the doorway. Śrīman Mahāprabhu understood that Nityananda Prabhu had arrived. So he immediately opened the door. And as Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu saw that the unlimited universal form, when he saw that universal form, he fell flat, offering obeisances. I think it's kind of funny. The universal form opened up the door. After seeing Mahaprabhu's, right? Was it Mahaprabhu? Yeah, Mahaprabhu opened up the door. Yeah. After seeing Mahaprabhu's opulences, the two Prabhus began to dance in ecstasy and offer prayers. After a while, the two Prabhus became intoxicated in loving quarrels. Shortly thereafter, Śrī Mahaprabhu restrained himself and departed for his home with the devotees. Hari Bol Champak Mataji. Jai 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 Gora Singha Mahadhir. Jai Jai Shishtapala Jaya Dushtabir. All glories to the most sober lion-like Gaur. All glories to the Lord, who maintains the devotees and annihilates the miscreants. Gaudiya Bhashya by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. To teach tolerance to all restless living entities, Sri Gaurasingha, the giver of Krishna Prem, has given instructions about service to Krishna. Yadunandan has manifested his supreme opulences by maintaining all the universes. Jai Jagannatha Putra Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata. Jai 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 Punya Shravana Kirtan. All glories to the son of Jagannath Mishra and Shachi. All glories to the virtuous devotional processes of hearing and chanting. Jai Jai Shri Jagadanandir Jivan. Jai Hari Dasa Kashishwarer Pranadhan. All glories to the life and soul of Shri Jagadananda. All glories to the life and wealth of Haridas and Kashishwar. Hari Bol Shubhananda Prabhu. Jai Kripa Sindhu Dina Bandhu Sarvatata. Jai Bole Tomar Prabhu Tar Ho Natha. All glories to the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the affectionate father of all. You become the Lord of one who says, I am yours. Jai Bole Tomar Prabhu Tar Ho Natha. Heno mate navadipe vishvam bharai. Vivida kirtana Prabhu koro ye sadai. In this way, Lord Vishwambar constantly engaged in various kirtan pastimes in Navadvip. Heno she hoila Prabhu Hari Sankirtane. Krishna nama shruti matra pore je shestane. He became so overwhelmed in Hari Sankirtan that as soon as he heard the name of Krishna, he fell to the ground. Ki nagare ki chatvare ki vajale bane, nirantar ashrudhara vahe Shri Nayane. Incessant tears would flow from his lotus eyes, whether he was in the street, in a courtyard, in the water, or in the forest. Aptagane rakshiya bulen nirantar, bhakti rasamoy hoilen Vishwambar. Vishwambar's intimate associates would always protect him when he became filled with the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, when he became bhakti rasamoy. Heno matra kono rupe jadi bole hari, shunile pore Prabhu apana pashari. If for any reason anyone spoke the name Hari, the Lord would forget himself and fall to the ground. Mahakampa ashru hoy, pulaka sarvange, garagari jayen nagare maharange. He would shiver and cry, and the hairs of his body would stand on end as he rolled on the street in great ecstasy. Je avesha dekhile pramadi dhanya hoy, taha dekhe nadiyar loka samuchoy. The people of Nadia would thus see manifestations of ecstasy that personalities like Brahma aspired to see. Sheshe ati murcha dekhi mili sarva dase alaga koria niya chalilo avase. When the Lord's servants saw the when the Lord's servants saw the Lord, when the Lord's servants saw the Lord eventually lose consciousness, they took him to his own residence. Tabe dwara diya je koren sankirtan, sheshuke purnita hoy ananta bhuvan. As they then performed kirtan behind closed doors, the happiness of that kirtan filled innumerable universes. Jata sabha bhava hoy akhatya shakal, heno nahi bujhi prabhu kira se vival. It is impossible to describe all the sentiments that the Lord manifests, and it is difficult to understand which mellows overwhelmed the Lord. Kane bole mui she madana gopal, kane bole mui Krishna dasa sarvakal. One moment, he said, I am that Madan Gopal. Another moment, he said, I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Śrī Gaurasundar incarnated to reveal how fortunate the conditioned souls become by chanting the spiritual names. When living entities retire from perception based on the godless, sense-gratifying meanings of words coming from languages like Brahmi, Sankhi, and Kuroshti, then by the influence of the spiritual names, their eternal propensity is awakened. Then they are not satisfied by attraction to external objects, and they develop an indescribable urge. At that time, the living entities realize their eternal constitutional position. Śrī Gaurasundar also always manifested in himself the 5 sentiments found in eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Since he was Vrajendranandan himself, he was sometimes unable to conceal himself. He did not obstruct the conditioned soul's vision by which they could understand the identity of the Supreme Lord and thus know that the son of Shachi is non-different from the son of Nanda. He always identified himself as a Vaishnava so that all living entities who are servants of Lord Chaitanya would not lose their constitutional spiritual propensities and consider themselves ahangropasak, one who worships himself with the idea of becoming God. Mayavadi Bals, wait, I guess there's supposed to be a comma there? I don't know. Mayavadi Bals are Madan Gopals. Maybe there's something missing. Consider themselves ahangropasak. Mayavadi Bals are Madan Gopals. Okay. Gopi, 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 matra kono dina jape, shunile Krishner naam, jwale mahakope. Some days he would simply chant, Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. When he would hear the name of Krishna, he would burn with great indignation. Haribol Rukmini Didi. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the constitutional propensities of the living entities, the identification of a gopi in madhur ras and conjugal love under the subordination of the daughter of King Vrishabhanu is topmost. And since living entities who are shelters of madhur ras are gopis, Vrajendranandan repeatedly chanted the word gopi to remain fixed on the platform of identifying himself as a gopi. To reveal that the living entities are sheltered parts and parcels, and not Swayamrup Krishna, the supreme shelter, and to reveal that the Panchopasak Mayavadi conditions souls identifying themselves as non-different from Krishna is extremely meaningless. The Lord, on one hand, enacted the pastime of displaying distaste for the name of Krishna, and on the other hand, he revealed that it is the duty of all living entities to inquire about Krishna and in the course of inquiry to engage in the service of Krishna. Sorry. That is why Śrī Mahaprabhu has indirectly displayed distaste for the name of Krishna by feigning detachment and engaging in behavior that is contrary to that of the people of the world. And by acting like one who has realized his constitutional position and who has developed an excessive thirst to hear the name of Krishna, he increased his desire to constantly hear the name of Krishna. Hotakar Krishna tor mahadasyu se shata drishta kaitava bhaje bhaktare ke. From where has your Krishna come? He is a great rogue. Who will worship such a duplicitous, cunning, cheating person? Stri jita hoya strir kate nakakan. Lubdaker prai loilo balir paran. First, he conquers a lady, then he cuts off her ears and nose. He took the life of Bali like a hunter. Gaudiya Bhashya. Krishna is a great rogue. Krishna is duplicitous, cunning, and cheating. It is not proper to worship him, for he is an insignificant person. By these statements, Lord Gaurasundar awarded a proper reprimand to foolish people and revealed foolish people's poor fund of knowledge to the devotees. By this, the Lord revealed to faithful living entities his pastimes in the mood of a left-wing gopī and the proper platform for worshipping Krishna. See Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 10, verses 9 and 12. Ki karja amar sheva chorer kathay, Jai Krishna boloy tare, kedar diya jai. Kedariya, right? For what use? What use do I have for topics about that thief? He would chase away anyone who uttered the name of Krishna. What use do I have for topics about that thief, Krishna? Gokul, Gokul, Matra, Bole, Kone, Kone, Vrindavana, Vrindavana, Bole, Kona, Dine. Sometimes he would chant, Gokul, Gokul, and some days he would chant, Vrindavan, Vrindavan. Mathura, Mathura, Kona, Dina, Bole, Sukhe, Kona, Dine, Prithivite, Nakhe, Anka, Lekhe. Some days he would happily chant, Mathura, Mathura. On some days, he would make drawings on the ground with his nails. Kone prithivite lekhe tribhanga akriti, chahiya rodan kore bhashe shab khiti. Sometimes he would draw a threefold bending form on the ground, and then he would soak the earth with tears while looking at that form. Kone bole bhai shab boro dekhi van, pale pale singha vyaghra, bhaluker gan. Sometimes he would say, "Oh, brothers, I see a great forest filled with lions, tigers, and bears. Divasere bole ratri, ratri re divas, e mata Prabhu hoilen bhakti vash." In this way, the Lord became so overwhelmed in devotional service that he considered the day as night and the night as day. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:69, it is stated, Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami, yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato mune. What is night for all living beings, what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Prabhur avesh deki sarva bhaktagan anyonye gala dhari koren krandhan. On seeing the Lord's ecstatic mood, all the devotees embraced one another and began to cry. Je abesh dekite Brahmar abhilash, shuke taha deke joto Vaishnaver das. The servants of the Vaishnavas became happy to see the ecstatic love that even Brahma desires to see. Chariya apanavas Prabhu Vishvambar, Vaishnavas saber ghare thake nirantar. Lord Vishvambar avoided his own home and always stayed in the houses of the Vaishnavas. Bahya cheshta thakur koren kona khane, she kevala jananir santosha karane. Yet he would sometimes engage in external activities simply to please his mother. Shukhamoy hoilen sarva bhaktagan, anande koren sabe Krishna sankirtan. All the devotees were filled with happiness as they engaged with ecstasy in the congregational chanting of Krishna's names. Nityananda matta singha sarvanadiyai, ghare ghare bule Prabhu ananta lilai. Nityananda enjoyed unlimited pastimes while wandering like an intoxicated lion from door to door throughout Nadia. Prabhu Shange Gadadhar Thakin Sarvatha, Advaita Loya Sarva Vaishnaver Katha. Gadadhar always remained in the Lord's association, while the Vaishnavas would remain in the association of Advaita. Ekadin Advaita Nachin Gopī Bhave, Kīrtana Koren Sabe Maha Anurage. One day, Advaita danced in the mood of a gopī as everyone performs kirtan with great attachment. Arti kori nachaye Advaita Mahashay, Puna Puna Dante Trina Koriya Poroy. While dancing in that mood of lamentation, Advaita Mahashay took straw between his teeth and repeatedly fell to the ground. Paragari jayen Advaita prem rase, chaturdige bhaktagan gayen ullase. Advaita rolled on the ground in the mellows of ecstatic love as the devotees joyfully sang in the four directions. Prem rase. Dui prahare o nritya nahe sambaran, Shanta hoilen sa bhagavata gan. The Lord's devotees became exhausted when, even after 6 hours, he did not stop dancing. Wow. And Advaita Acharya is very old, but still he's dancing 6 hours. I mean, it's not surprising he's Mahavishnu, but yeah. Shabe meli acharya re sthir koraiya, Boshilen chaturdige acharya bediya. So they all pacified Advaita Acharya and sat in a circle around him. Kichustir hoya jadi acharya boshila Shrivasa Ramay adi tabe snane gela. After Advaita Acharya sat down somewhat pacified, Shrivas, Ramay, and some others, they went to take bath. Kichustir hoya jadi acharya boshila Shrivas Ramay adi tabe snane gela. Artha Yoga Advaiter Puna Puna Bare Ekeshwar Shrivasayangane Gadi Pore. As Advaita's lamentation steadily increased, he rolled around alone on the ground of Srivasa's courtyard. Karyantare Nija Grihe Chila Vishvambar Advaiter Arti Chitte Hoilo Gochar. Vishvambar, who was engaged in some activities at his own house, understood the lamentation of Advaita. Bhakta arti purnakari sadananda rai aila Advaita jatha gada gadi jai. The ever blissful Lord relieves the distress of his devotees. He therefore came to that place where Advaita was rolling on the ground. Advaiter arti dekhi dhori tar kore dwar diya boshilen giya Vishnu ghare. On seeing Advaita's lamentation, the Lord grabbed his hand, took him inside the Vishnu temple, closed the door, and sat down. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Vishnu Ghare is explained as follows. At that time, there was a Vishnu temple in every Hindu's house, and particularly in every Brahmana's house. In some houses, there were also halls like Chandi Mandaps, in which ritualistic ceremonies was performed. Hasiya Thakur bole shuno ho acharya, ki tomar icha bolo ki bak chaho karja. The Lord smiled and said, Listen, Acharya, what is your desire? Tell me, what can I do for you? Advaita boloye tumi sarva vedasar, tomare chaho Prabhu ki chahivo ar. Advaita replied, You are the essences of all the Vedas. I simply want you, O Lord. What else could I need? Hasi bole Prabhu ami eto shakshate. Ar ki amare chaho bolo to amate. The Lord smiled and said, I am right here. Tell me, what else tell me what else you want. Advaita boloe Prabhu, pohila susatya, ei tumi sarva veda vedanter tattva. Advaita then replied, O Lord, whatever you said is completely true. You are the only subject matter of the Vedas and the Vedanta. Tatapi havai bhava dekhite kichu chai. Prabhu bole, kiba icha bolo mor thai. Still, I wish to see some of your opulences. The Lord said, Tell me exactly what you want. Advaita boloe Advaita boloe Prabhu, purve arjunere, jaha dekhaile taha icha boro kore. Advaita replied, O Lord, I have a strong desire to see the form that you previously displayed to Arjuna. Bolite Advaita matra dekhe ekarat, chatur dige sainya dale mahajuddhapat. As Advaita spoke these words, he saw a chariot surrounded by armies engaged in warfare on a battlefield. Rather upare dekhe shamala sundar, chaturbhuja shankha chakra gada parmadhar. Wait a second. Need to stretch. Sorry, I went to sleep really late last night. He saw on the chariot a handsome blackish personality with 4 hands, holding the conch shell, disc, club, and lotus. Ananta Brahmanda Rup, Dekhe Khane, Chandra Surya Sindhu Giri Nadi Upavane. He then saw the Lord's universal form, consisting of innumerable universes, moons, suns, oceans, mountains, rivers, and forests. Koti chakhu bahu mukha dekhe puna puna, sammukhe dekhoye stuti koroye Arjuna. He saw millions of eyes, arms, and faces. Then he also saw Arjuna offering prayers before the Lord. Maha Agni Jeno Jwale Shakal Vadan Poroye Pashanda Patanga Dushtagan. Great fires emanated from the mouths of that universal form and burns the atheists and miscreants who entered those fires like moths. Je papishta paraninde paradroha kore Chaitanyer mukagnite shei puri more. Any sinful person who blasphemes or tortures others is burned to ashes in the fire emanating from Lord Chaitanya's mouth. Gaudiya Bhashya. The universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifested at that time. That universal form was so gigantic. Is sorry, I don't know why. Yeah, my brain's a little bit weird right now. The universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifested at that time was a gigantic form consisting of waves of all kinds of material concepts. It was not eternal, and it was not equal to the names, forms, qualities, associates, characteristics, and pastimes of the naimittika, or occasional incarnations. When, as a result of the full manifestation of material knowledge, the universal form of the Lord appears before a needy, poverty-stricken person, the universal form fits to be manifested within this temporary world that the Lord manifested at that time becomes manifest. As fire is capable of burning, destroying, and melting all objects, along with the object's contamination, the mental weakness and bodily contamination in the form of the wild dancing of sinful people who, out of aversion to the Supreme Lord, envy and blaspheme exalted devotees, are burned to ashes by the fire of lively, fully cognizant kirtan performed by devotees who have received the mercy of Śrī Caitanya Dev. এই রূপে দেখিতে অন্যের শক্তি নাই প্রভুর কৃপাতে দেখে আচার্য গোসাই. No others have the power to see this form of the Lord. Advaita Acharya was able to see it by the mercy of the Lord. Prem sukhe Advaita kanden anurage Dante trina kori puna puna dasya mage. Advaita cried in ecstatic love out of intense attachment. Taking a straw between his teeth, he repeatedly begged for the Lord's service. Parama Anande Prabhu Nityananda Rai Parjatana Sukhe Brahme Sarva Nadiyai. Meanwhile, Nityananda Prabhu was wandering throughout Nadia in great ecstasy. Prabhur Prakasha Sab Jane Nityananda Jani Len Hoyachen Prabhu Vishva Anga. Since Nityananda knows all the Lord's manifestations, he understood that the Lord was displaying his universal form. Gaudiya Bhashya. Persons with a mundane vision are unable to see the form of the Supreme Lord, for they strongly identify themselves as the doer. For since they strongly identify themselves as a doer, they are unable to see the complete whole. The avatari, or source of all incarnations, who has manifested in this world, is accepted by them as an anga, or a part. They consider the angi to be the anga. Although conditioned souls were unable to realize the completeness of Mahaprabhu, Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu understood him as the most complete personality. Although narrow-minded living entities consider the Supreme Lord as a product of matter, this material world, actually, the fact is that this material world is his part. Oh, wait. Although narrow-minded living entities consider the Supreme Lord as a product of matter, this material world is his part. Such completeness based on the philosophy of Vishishtadvaita appeared in the fully service-inclined vision of Śrī Nityānanda. Śrīmad Bhagavata, is Śrī Advaita Rāmānujācārya? I really need to get, yes, it is Rāmānujācārya, yes. And today is Rāmānujācārya's disappearance day. So pretty neat that we're hearing about Vishishta Advaita today. So such completeness based on the philosophy of Vishishta Advaita appeared in the fully service-inclined vision of Śrī Nityānanda. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has stated that the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material world is simply a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's secondary characteristic. Satvare aila jatha achen thakur Vishnu griha dware giya garjen prachur. He quickly came to Srivasa's house where the Lord was, and Nityananda roared loudly outside the temple door. Nityananda agamana jani vishwambar Dwar ghuchaiya Prabhu aila satvar. Realizing that Nityananda had arrived, Vishwambar quickly opens the door. In other words, the whole universal manifestation opened up the door. Ananta Brahmanda Rupa Nityananda Dekhi Dandavat Hoya Horila Bhuji Aki. As Nityananda saw the Lord's form consisting of innumerable universes, he closed his eyes and fell to the ground offering obeisances. Prabhu bole Utho Nityananda mor pran Tumi she jano ho mor shakal akhyan. The Lord said, "Get up, Nityananda. You are my life and soul. You know everything about me. Je tomare priti kore mui satyatar. Toma boy priyatama nahi ko amar." I certainly belong to one who loves you, for no one is more dear to me than Tumi ar advaite je kore bher buddhi. Bhalo mate na jane she avatar shuddhi. Anyone who distinguishes between you and Advaita does not properly know the intricacies of the incarnations. Like we read in that Advaitashtakam, the last verse, the verse 8 of Advaitashtakam says that you are called Advaita, for you are non-different from Nityananda. That was pretty neat. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who consider Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu and Śrī Advaita Prabhu distinct from the Vishnu Tattvas and thus differentiate between their body and self cannot fully enter into the intricacies of understanding the Lord's incarnations. You want to see, okay, this is one of the edited, like one of the, not the latest, but I'm just looking at that verse that we went over from Advaitashtakam. Okay. Nityananda, what is it? Nityananda Advaita, oh God, how do you say that? Nityananda Advaitato Dvaitanama. He is known as Advaita because he is non-different from Śrīman Nityānanda Prabhu. This is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Okay. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those who consider, those who consider them distinct from the Vishnu Tattvas and differentiate between their body and self cannot fully enter into the intricacies of understanding the Lord's incarnations. Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu is the first direct expansion of the Supreme Lord, and Śrī Advaita Prabhu is Vishnu in the form of the ingredient cause of creation. Implicit in the understanding that Advaita Prabhu is the implicit in the understanding that Advaita Prabhu is the upadan karan, Vishnu is the further So implicit in that understanding is the further understanding that he embodies the role of the original Acharya Guru, which is the basis for considering him a Vaishnava. Since the distinction between the nimitta karan, or efficient cause, and the upadan karan, or ingredient cause, is an inseparable aspect of the Supreme Lord's identity, the Lord is called Advaita. However, if the distinct characteristics of the nimitta karan are ascribed in the understanding of Advaita, then the distinct characteristics of the Prakash Vastu, Nityananda, and Swayam Rup, Chaitanya, are disrespected. Okay. Nityananda Advaite dekhiya Vishvambar, Anande nachai Vishnu griher bhitor. Looking at that form of Vishvambar, Nityananda and Advaita began to dance in ecstasy within the temple room. Hunkar garjana kore Śrī Sachi-nandan, dekho dekho kori Prabhu dake ghana ghan. The son of Shachi roared loudly and repeatedly exclaimed, "Look, look, dekho, dekho, behold!" Prabhu, Prabhu boli stuti kore dui jan, Vishwarup dekhiya ananda moy man. The two Prabhus offered prayers and exclaimed, "Prabhu, Prabhu." Their minds were filled with ecstasy on seeing that universal form of the Lord. Gaudiya Bhashya. See the purport of the verse Amar Prabhur Prabhu Shri Gaurasundar. That's that Shri Gaurasundar is the Lord of my Lord. That's Caitanya-bhāgavata Adi, chapter 17, verse 153. Eshab kautuka hoy Shivas mandire, tathapi dekhite shakti anya nahi dhore. These pastimes took place in the house of Shivas, yet no one else had the power to see them. Advaiter Shri Mukher Eshakala Katha. Ihaje Namanayeshe Dushkriti Sarvatha. These topics came directly from the lotus mouth of Advaita. One who does not accept them is certainly a miscreant. Sarva Maheshwar Gora Chandra Je na bole, Vaishnaver Adrisha She Papi Sarva Kale. One who does not glorify Gaurachandra as the Lord of all is a perpetual sinner, unfit to be seen by Vaishnavas. Amar Prabhur Prabhu Gauranga Sundar, Eshe Bharasha Ami Dhoriye Antar. Shri Gaurasundar is the Lord of my Lord. I maintain this conviction within my heart. Navadvipe Hinosha Prakasher Sthan, Tatapiha Bhakta Vahi na janaye ano. Such pastimes were enacted in Navadvip, yet no one other than the devotees knew of them. Bhakti jog, bhakti jog, bhakti jog dhan, bhakti e Krishna nam smarana krandan. Devotional service, devotional service, devotional service is the greatest treasure. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti is the greatest treasure. For devotional service, bhakti means crying while remembering Krishna's names. Gaudiya Bhashya. Oh, neat. The first bhakti in the phrase bhakti yoga was written to indicate sambandha, the relationship with the Lord. The second bhakti was written to indicate abhidheya, the activities in that relationship. And the third bhakti was written to indicate prayojana, the goal of life. So, devotional service manifests in the heart that has been melted by hearing, chanting, and remembering. If one's heart is hardened by false arguments or filled with a desire to control, then the propensity for service does not appear. Non-devotional activities manifest perversions in the soul's constitutional characteristics. Krishna boli kandile, Shri Krishna nama mile, Dhane kule kichu nahe, Krishna na bhojile. The pure name of Krishna manifests when one cries while chanting the name of Krishna. Wealth and high birth are useless if one does not worship Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Without the service of Krishna, high birth with ample material prestige and various opulences are simply insignificant. When a pitiless person repeatedly calls out the name of Krishna with a melted heart and realizes that the name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different, he attains the eternal service of the holy names. Persons afflicted by false arguments and false ego who cry out of material distress do not attain devotional service. Rather, inclination for the service of the Supreme Lord manifests only in the melted hearts of prideless persons. The crying out of distress born of dominating the material world or losing such domination is not intended here. Rather, it is to be understood that such ecstatic crying results from eternal happiness. Dui Thakurer Vishwarupa Darashan, Iha je shunai tare mile Krishna dhan. Anyone who hears the topics concerning the two Lords' darshan of the universal form attains the treasure of Krishna. So we should go after Lords. Aneke shakal samvariya gora chandra, cholilen nija grihe loy bhakta vrinda. After a short time, Gaurachandra concealed his universal form and returned to his residence along with the devotees. Vishwarupa dekhiya Advaita Nityānanda, kaharo nahi ko bahya parama ananda. After seeing the Lord's universal form, Advaita and Nityananda lost all external consciousness in great ecstasy. Vaibhava darśana sukhe matta dui jan, dhulai jayan gadi shakal angan. In the happiness of seeing the Lord's opulence, the two Prabhus rolled on the grounds throughout the courtyard. Keho nache keho gai, diya karat tali, dhuliya dhuliya bule, dui mahabali. The two powerful lords swayed to and fro as one danced and the other sang and clapped his hands. E mate dui jane mahakutuhali, sheshe dui jane bajilo gala gali. In this way, the two lords enjoyed great happiness. Eventually, however, they began to abuse each other. Advaita boloe avadhutta mataliya, etha konjan toke anilo dakiya. Advaita said, "You intoxicated Avadut, who invited you to come here?" Duar bangia asi, sambhai likene, sanyasi koria tore bole kon jane. Why did you break the door and come in? Who says you are a sannyasi? Heno jati nahi na khaila jar ghare, jati ache heno kon jane bole tore. You eat in anyone's house without considering what is their caste. Who can say you have maintained your caste? Vaishnava sabhai kene mahamato walo, jata nahi palaile nahi veka bhalo. What is such a great drunkard as you doing in this assembly of Vaishnavas? Get out of here right now, or you will be in trouble. Nityananda bole are nada boshi thako, khilaiya paro nage paro age dekhai pratapa. Paro age dekhai pratapa. Nityananda replied, "Oh Nada, just sit down. or I will show my prowess by punching you. Are Buddha Bamana tomar bhoy nai. Ami abadhuta matta thakurer bhai. Striye putre grihe tume parama sangsari. Parama hangser phate ami adhikari. You old Brahman, are you not afraid of me? I am an intoxicated avadhut, the Lord's brother. You are a gross materialist living at home with your wife and children, while I have accepted the path of the Paramahamsas. Gaudiya Bhashya. On the pretext of loving quarrel, Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu described himself as a traveler on the path of the Paramahamsas. Then, to reveal that the vision of materialists is useless, he called Śrī Advaita Prabhu a materially intoxicated householder engaged in maintaining his wife and children. After Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu identified himself as a Paramahamsa Avadhut and the elder brother of Śrī Gaurasundar, then he referred to Śrī Advaita Prabhu as a senile old man, a poor Brahmin, and an overly courageous person, and then made an artificial show of great power to forcibly subjugate him. This was the outcome of Śrī Advaita Prabhu's angry statements that indicated love for Nityananda Prabhu. Advaita Prabhu referred to Nityananda Prabhu as a drunkard, a trespasser, a condemned sannyasi, a social misfit, an indiscriminate eater of everyone's remnants, and a violator of Vedic injunctions, and then said that if he did not leave Advaita's house, he would receive severe punishment. In protest of these statements from Advaita, Śrī Nityananda made this arrogant reply. Nityananda said, Ami mari le o kichu bolite na paro. Amashane tumi akarane garva koro. Even if I beat you, Advaita, you cannot say anything. Yet you display your pride before me without any reason. Shuniya Advaite krodhe agni heno jwale. Digambar hoya ashesha manda bole. When Advaita heard these words, he burns with fire and anger. Losing his cloth, he began to speak many rude words. Matsya khao, mangsha khao, ke mata sannyasi, vastra edi lama ami e digvasi. You eat fish and you eat meat. What kind of sannyasi are you? I have also given up my cloth and become naked. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the course of argument and counter-argument, Śrī Advaita Prabhu became very angry and said, your behavior is similar to that of a dari sannyasi who eats fish and meat and who brags that he has given up the dress of a householder and become naked. You are just like the tantric sannyasis who are envious of the Vaishnavas, who are attached to sense gratification, who are followers of Shakta philosophy, and who try to protect their reputation as sannyasis by indulging in pancha makar. And there's a note here. It says pancha makar refers to mangsha, madhya, matsya, mahila, and maithuna. That is meat, wine, fish, women, and sex. 5 M's. The 5 was. Mangsha, Madhya, Matsya, Mahila, and Maithuna. So Nityananda Prabhu said, whimsical behavior can never be the characteristic. Wait. No, this is Advaita Prabhu speaking, sorry. Whimsical behavior can never be the characteristic of a sannyasi under the shelter of the Vedas. After reading these statements, foolish people should not consider Sri Baladev Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu as fallen from sannyas and proper behavior. It should be known that one who exposes his natural foolishness by failing to understand the actual purport of Advaita's statements is unqualified to understand the characteristics of Nityananda Prabhu. These sarcastic are disguised as blasphemous statements of Sri Advaita are simply a ploy to increase the sinful propensities of those who eat fish and meat. Those not understanding the purport of these words, who are most unfortunate and bereft of intelligence, take shelter of the worldly sinful activities and traverse the path to hell. Those who are easily influenced by the word jugglery of others can never become intelligent devotees of Krishna. Sorry, starting to get tired. How many more verses? Okay, we have 12 verses, so we're close to the end. We're at 90 so far. Kotha mata pita kon deshe vasati ke janoi asiya baluk teki iti. Who knows where your parents are? Who knows where your parents are or where you come from? Can anyone vouch for you? Ekachora asiya ateko kore paka kaimo gilimo sangharimo sabataka. One thief came and created this disturbance. But wait, and I will eat, swallow, and destroy everything. Tare boli sannyasi je kichu nahi chai, bolai sannyasi dine teen bhar kai. We call one who does not want anything a sannyasi, but this thief eats 3 times a day and still calls himself a sannyasi. Gaudiya Bhashya. Śrī Advaita said, it is the principle of a sannyasi to not accept anything from anyone. But Nityananda Prabhu identifies himself as a sannyasi and yet eats 3 times a day. Those who, under the influence of fruitive activities, cannot understand the difference between yukta vairagya and falgu vairagya, and are unable to understand the uselessness of their arguments, consider themselves logicians. But since the basis of their arguments is extremely weak, every intelligent person understands that they are fools. Being driven by external knowledge resulting from their foolishness, they maintain an evil mentality in their hearts that obstructs their darshan of the devotees and the Supreme Lord. Those who have heard topics regarding Falgu Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya from the mouth of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dev and have been further encouraged by the writings of Sri Rupa Prabhu are understood to be liberated from the dangers of such foolishness. Oh, regarding the, what was it? The makar, whatever that was called. She thought one of the M's was parched grain. Yeah, maybe it's described in different ways, different places. But parched grain isn't an activity, right? Aren't all those M's? Oh, I guess meat isn't an activity. Yeah, parched grain. Okay, sorry. Okay. Srinivasa Panditer Mule Jati Nai Kothakar Avadhute Ani Dila Thai. Now Advaita is continuing on. Srivas Pandit does not belong to any caste. He brought this avadut from somewhere and gave him shelter here. Gaudiya Bhashya. And his behavior throughout the day and night. Srinivas Pandit showed respect for everyone's Vaishnava characteristics. Since he did not properly follow the Vedic injunctions of the foolish smartas, his social status was completely lost. He therefore accepted Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu, whose caste and activities were unknown, as an avadut and presented him before the public. It is against worldly principles to give up social duties based on caste and to advance in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, it's against worldly principles to give up the social duties based on caste and advance in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. It's definitely not against devotional principles, obviously. Avadhuta korilo shakol jati nash kotha hoite madhyaper hoilo parakash. This avadut has ruined everyone's caste. We don't know where this drunkard has come from. Krishna prem sudhara se matta dui jan. Anyone kalaha koren sarvakhan. Intoxicated in the nectarian mellows of ecstatic love for Krishna, Krishna prem sudhara ras, the two continually quarreled between themselves. Ite ekajaner hoiya pakha je, anya jane ninda kore koi jai she. Therefore, if a person takes the side of one of them and blasphemes the other, he is ruined. So many different ways of saying the same thing throughout Caitanya-bhāgavata. Like say the same point in like, I don't even know how many different ways. Heno prema kalaher marma na janiya, eke ninde ar bandhe she more puriya. A person who blasphemes one and glorifies the other without understanding the meaning of such loving quarrels is burned to death. Advaiter pakka hoya ninde gadadhar, she adhama kabu nahe Advaita kinkar. A fallen person who takes the side of Advaita and blasphemes Gadadhar can never become a servant of Advaita. Gaudiya Bhashya. After the disappearance of the Acharya, the disciplic followers of Śrī Advaita have accepted subordination under Śrī Gadadhar. But a few foolish people, without understanding of Advaita's actual identity, they criticize Gadadhar Pandit's activities of preaching devotional service on the pretext of glorifying Advaita. Actually, as a result of such unjustified activities, those atheists opposed to Gadadhar cannot be accepted as eternal servants of Advaita Prabhu. Since they are offenders at the lotus feet of Advaita, their blasphemy of Śrī Gadadhar on the pretext of duplicitous glorification of Advaita Prabhu is never tolerated by Advaita Prabhu. Rather, he rejects such so-called servants and drives them away. Ishvare she ishvarer koloher patra ke bujhibe Vishnu Vaishnaver lila matra. Only the Supreme Lord is capable of quarreling with the Supreme Lord. Who can understand the pastimes of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas? Gaudiya Bhashya. Vishnu and his eternal servant Vaishnavas are Ishwars, are Prabhus. Ordinary people cannot understand this. The disagreements created by particular manifestations of Vishnu between themselves and the facade of quarreling among the Vaishnavas for increasing their love for the Supreme Lord are incomprehensible to ordinary people who are forced to enjoy the fruits of their karma. Vishnu and the Vaishnavas are Ishwars, are Prabhus, of living entities forced to enjoy the fruits of their karma. Therefore, the ignorant, simple-minded people who consider the dealings between one Prabhu with another Vaishnav Prabhu, or the apparent quarreling between Śrī Nityānanda and Śrī Advaita, equal to other ordinary dealings, if they consider those to be equal to other ordinary dealings, and thus enter into blasphemy, and they enter into blasphemy in this way and praise, they are simply foolish. Sorry, guys, I read that really strangely, but you get the point, right? Vishnu ar Vaishnava samana dui hoy, pashandi nindak iha bujhe viparyay, shakala Vaishnava prati abhed dekhiya, Jai Krishna charana bhaje she jai toriya. Vishnu and the Vaishnavas are equal, but atheists and blasphemers think otherwise. One who worships the lotus feet of Krishna without discriminating among Vaishnavas is delivered. That person who worships the lotus feet of Krishna without discriminating among Vaishnavas is delivered. This is the second to the last verse. Gaudiya Bhashya. Vishnu and the Vaishnavas possess the distinct characteristics of the Vishai, or object of worship, and the Ashai, or worshipper. So if one accepts that there is a difference between the status of Vishnu and the status of Vaishnavas, the distinction rather than the equality captures one's heart. Such discrimination is prominently found among the atheists and blasphemers, because by accepting that Vishnu and the Vaishnavas have different statuses, such people bring them under the confines of their reasoning. False ego, devoid of service to Vishnu, attires them as lords and induces them to indulge in discriminating between Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. The absence of understanding Vishai and Ashray, is the creator of blasphemous and atheistic propensities. That is why, if one realizes that every Vaishnava without discrimination becomes qualified in the course of worshipping Krishna's lotus feet to enter into the pastimes of Krishna, his worship becomes mature. Let me reread that one second. I didn't totally get that. That is why, if one realizes that every Vaishnava without discrimination becomes qualified in the course of worshipping Krishna's lotus feet to enter into the pastimes of Krishna, his worship becomes mature. Yes, everybody on the path of bhakti will eventually become qualified to directly worship Krishna's lotus feet and enter into Krishna's pastimes. So even if they haven't, this is how I'm understanding that, even if they haven't, if they're just a newbie on the path, and they seem to have lots of problems and all that, like not, still they will eventually, very quickly, they will, when we're looking from Brahma's point of view, like it's like in a split second, they're going to be worshiping Krishna directly in his pastimes. So therefore we shouldn't discriminate like that. There is no possibility of worshiping the Supreme Lord if one distinguishes the Supreme Lord's associates and characteristics from his names, forms, and qualities. But if one does not recognize that a person without Vaishnava qualities, or a person who cultivates religious principles devoid of devotional service to Vishnu, is a non-Vaishnav, but mistakenly considers him a Vaishnav, then he is also unable to worship the Supreme Lord. Yes, my Param Gurudev makes this point, that it is actually, we have a bit of time. I just find this, because we're at the end of this chapter. I just find this point. One second. It's an important point. Where is it? Line of devotion. I posted it on Line of Devotion. Where is it? There it is. One must correctly identify a Vaishnav. Wait. Equally. I think that's the keyword. Yeah, okay. Wait, is this it? I begin my journey to hell by being envious of Vaishnava, seeing in him a semblance of faults which are unpleasant to my senses, and I suffer equally by being affectionate to Vaishnava upon seeing in him the semblance of good qualities which are pleasing to my senses. In both cases, my vision is limited to the mundane realm, and I am not fortunate enough to be able to recognize the transcendental Vaishnava. Hence, in trying to find a Vaishnava, we should not simply end up selecting someone who possesses mundane qualities or who is devoid of them. That's not the sentence I was looking for. Oh wait, I know a keyword. Anyway, sorry, I'm taking so long. Okay, this sentence here. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so it is improper to honor a Kanishta Adhikari in a way that befits only an Uttam Adhikari, or to deal with a Madhyam Adhikari as if he were a Kanishta Adhikari. Only when we respect Vaishnavas in a manner befitting their respective qualification can we become free from knowingly or unknowingly committing Vaishnav aparad. Only then can we realize the transcendental merciful form of the Vaishnavas, which bestows all desired perfection. Yeah. There's another quote though that anyways, that was basically the point though. Okay, so A Vaishnav devoid of devotional service to Vishnu is a non-Vaishnav. An object devoid of heat is called cold. Yet even within intense cold, there is a tinge of heat. Therefore, the consideration of non-difference between heat and cold results in an absence of variegatedness. But variegatedness or enjoyment is a constitutional characteristic. Equating and distinguishing from an unconstitutional platform between the natural and the unnatural states are both faulty. Until spiritual perception devoid of these two mundane conceptions is awakened, one's propensity for pure service does not awaken. Unless one's service propensity is awakened, one can neither realize the Supreme Lord nor be established in devotional service. Yeah, it's not an intellectual thing. This is something that happens through mercy. You become qualified. When you perform service and then you get mercy, then the Lord's mercy, then you're able to understand. It's not something that you just understand through, logic and reading Shastra and stuff like that. It's more deep than that. What does it say in here? It says, yeah, I love this. The Vaishnavas shower their mercy upon the Kanishta Adhikari without his knowing it. And this mercy covertly and imperceptibly elevates him to the Madhyam level. Then, only by the mercy of the Vaishnav does he develop the ability to discern what level a Vaishnav is on and offer him due respect. We do not need to create our relationship with the Vaishnavas, for it is eternal. Our objective is simply to realize that relationship. And this is possible only by the strength of their mercy. Why then should we have any concern about being unable to identify Vaishnavas? Anyways, it's such an awesome article. But okay, so that's it. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jan Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Pada Juge Gan. Accepting Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, Madhya-khaṇḍa, chapter 24, entitled, The Lord Displays His Universal Form to Advaita. Okay, so I'm going to do we'll end now. I'll do Jai Dvani. And so then anybody who needs to go can go. And then after the Jai Dvani, I'll just read a little something about Rāmānujācārya for anybody who wants to stay for the after party. Anyone who wants to stay longer. Yeah. But I'm gonna end now just for those who aren't able to stay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Here's a picture of that pastime. Is Advaita Acharya. I've never seen this picture before. Wow. There's Advaita Prabhu beholding Mahaprabhu's universal form. Wow, that's such an awesome picture. Huh. Is this pastime it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita? I don't remember it. Because this looks like a Chaitanya Charitamrita painting. Huh. Very neat. Jai Ho. Thanks for sharing that, Kishore. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shuta Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shuta Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shuta Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shuta Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shuta Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Mahābhāgavata Śrīla Gaura Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। जय श्री रामानुजाचार्य की जय। तदीय शुभ tīrobhāv तिथि की जय। श्री विशिष्ट अद्वैत फिलॉसफी की जय। जय श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। श्री अद्वैत आचार्य की जय। श्रीमान नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद गौर हरि की जय। Mahaprabhu's revealing the universal form to Advaita Acharya Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitāya Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyaya Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyashta kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Dandavat pranams. Bhavatarani Mataji, Nari Hari Prabhu, Krishna Mai Didi, Champak Mataji, Subhadra Didi, Shubhananda Prabhu, and let's see, on YouTube and Facebook, Vidyalalasa Didi, Ganga Mataji, Rukmini Didi, Kishore Prabhu, and I see a bunch of other devotees, but not so many people wrote comments, so I can't see who you are. But Haribol, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Tomorrow, what are we reading from Caitanya-bhāgavata tomorrow? Let's see really quick. Never mind. I don't have it up. So now I'm going to read something for anybody who wants this. If you need to go, then yeah, you can go, and see you all tomorrow. But if anybody wants to stay longer, I'm going to read something in honor of Rāmānujācārya. Sorry, I got very little sleep last night, and there's a lot of things on my mind right now, so I'm a little bit spacey. You just have to excuse me. I'm just looking, what is our reading tomorrow from Caitanya-bhāgavata? Just opening up the Caitanya-bhāgavata thing. Tomorrow, we're going to read about chapter 25. The Discourse on Spiritual Knowledge by Srivasa's Dead Son. Oh, this is a very awesome chapter. There's a set of 13 songs by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur called the Shoka Shatan. Maybe we could read that also. It describes this pastime in detail. So cool. Tomorrow's an exciting reading. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen again, and I'll read something about Rāmānujācārya. Just now, I went to purebhakti.com while I was doing Chaitwani, and I found there's a class by Gurudev. Let's see how many words is it. How many words it is. Oops, So this is 3,866 words. Oh man, so that's going to take a little while to read. Anyhow, I'm going to just read it. If anybody wants to stay, you're free to stay. This is a class that my Gurudev gave on January 26, 2007, North Shore, Hawaii. Let me make the text big so you can read it. But yeah, this will probably take about 35 minutes to read, my guess. So just letting you know. Make this better. So the following is a transcription of Srila Gurudev's informal darshan given in North Shore, Hawaii on 26 January 2007 for Rāmānujācārya's disappearance. That informal darshan took place with only the devotees in his traveling party. So we especially thank his personal cook, Madhuvrat Das Brahmachari, now Madhuvrat Das Adhikari, for sending us the sound file. Srila Gurudev's talk on Hawaii was brief, and therefore we have included excerpts from his lecture given in Mathura in 2000 in brackets to fill out the history. Śrī Rāmānujācārya was born in South India. He is an incarnation of Lakshman. The word Anuja means younger brother. Rama Anuja refers to the younger brother of Lord Ram. Therefore, he is Rāmānuja. In Kali Yuga, he is the Acharya of the Śrī or Lakshmi Sampradaya. He is a disciple of Yamunacārya. As a boy, he was exceptionally intelligent. At a very young age, he knew all Sanskrit grammar, all Vyakaran, literature, Sahitya, and all the deep conclusions of the Vedic scriptures. Śrī Rāmānujācārya is an incarnation of Lakshman, Lord Ram's younger brother, and he accepted the Śrī Sampradaya. Remember, everything that's in square brackets is from Gurudev's class in 2000, Mathura. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada took many teachings from him, such as the duties of the sannyasi, the duties of the disciple, and the etiquette of the Vaishnava. He utilized 108 teachings. We follow these teachings, and we have published them in our Bhagavat Patrika and Gaudiya Patrika, Hindi and Bengali magazines. There's actually in Raise of the Harmonist 2010 edition, there's a whole list of instructions from Rāmānujācārya and Madhvacārya, if I remember correctly. Yeah. His teacher, Yadavacārya, was a follower of the Mayavad, the theory that all variety and individuality are illusion, and Advaitavad, the theory that only the truth is that the only truth is impersonal, undifferentiated oneness. So Yadavacārya was a follower of these philosophies. One day, his teacher began to explain his understanding of the beauty of Sri Krishna's eyes. In this regard, Chandogya Upanishad uses the word kapyasam. Yadavacārya explains that kapi means monkey, and that the monkey's rear end, kapi asam, is reddish on both sides. He concluded that Krishna's lotus eyes are like a monkey's rear end. Hearing this, Rāmānuja began to weep. Later, when Rāmānuja was massaging Yadavacārya, he told him, "The explanation you have given for kapyasam is wrong. Kapi can be understood to mean that which takes water from everywhere. Who takes water? The sun. The word asam also means to blossom. So the word kapi asam can be understood that which blossoms under the sun, or in other words, the lotus flower. Thus, we can understand the verse to mean that the Lord's eyes are as beautiful as the lotus flower." Now, this is from Gurudev's class in 2000. Śrī Rāmānujācārya took birth in a simple family. His mother and father were not very wealthy, but they were of a high Brahmin caste, and they were very learned. Rāmānuja was an outstanding boy from his childhood. While under the guidance of a Mayavadi guru named Yadavacārya, he was very careful in his studies. One day, when his guru was giving an impersonal explanation of a verse that contains the word kapyasan, he compared the lotus eyes of the Lord to the hind part of a monkey, which is reddish near its tail. Hearing this from his Gurudev's mouth, Ramanujacārya began to cry in great pain. Why is it repeating the same story twice? I mean, like, they should have just... Anyways, it doesn't matter. He felt grief in his heart that his Gurudev had used such a bad analogy for describing the lotus eyes of the Lord. After collecting himself, he politely asked if he could say something about the verse. Yadavacharya assented, and Ramanuja very nicely gave many explanations according to Sanskrit grammar. He said that the term kapyasam actually means one who brings water, and that is the sun. The lotus blossoms by the potency of the sun, and therefore the Lord's eyes are compared. The lotus blossoms by the potency of the sun, and therefore the Lord's eyes are compared to the lotus, not the monkey. Ramanuja's teacher became astonished, thinking, if this boy is so knowledgeable at such a young age, what will he do when he's grown up? If he remains alive, this Mayavad teaching will be finished. His teacher then planned to murder him. My God. Now, this is from my Gurudev's class in 2000. When Yadavacharya heard this, he thought, this boy is dangerous. He is very expert and is giving such nice explanations. In the future, he might uproot all the impersonal teachings from the Vedas, and so I must kill him. Thinking to trick Ramanuja, Yadavacharya told him that he was going to travel with all his students to do some preaching, and that Ramanuja should also accompany them. Ramanuja was a very sincere and innocent boy, so he didn't understand his teacher's intentions. Then, when they were all in a very deep forest, they decided that this would be the time to murder him. Govinda, his cousin brother, told him of their plan and urged them to quickly flee from there. Therefore, in the middle of the night, Ramanuja told him that he was going to the toilet, and he ran away. Now alone, he suddenly saw a hunter along with his wife holding a hurricane light. A hurricane light means like an oil lamp. The man asked him, where are you going? Ramanuja answered, I am going to Kanchipuram. The man replied, we are also going there, so come with us. When he arrived at Kanchipuram, his own village, which was very far away, those persons disappeared. Ramanuja then began to weep. He understood that it was certainly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan himself, along with his eternal consort, Lakshmi Devi, who had saved his life. Now, this is from my Gurudev's class in 2000. Throughout the day and night, he passed through the dense forest. It was difficult for him to discern the way, especially at night. The Lord, seeing his dear devotee in such a state, then appeared in the form of Bharadwaj, and holding a lantern in his hands, showed Ramanuja the way. Thus, within no time at all, Śrī Rāmānujā crossed the entire distance of the forest and found that he was standing outside his village. Sometime later, Ramanuja's teacher returned from the village. He had been thinking that perhaps a lion or tiger had eaten Ramanuja. Sorry about that. Okay. However, when he arrived, he saw that Ramanuja was alive. Wait, sorry. So Ramanuja's teachers thought that he had been, perhaps a lion or a tiger had eaten Ramanuja, and he was very happy. However, when he arrived, he saw that Ramanuja was still alive. He called him and told him to forget everything that had happened. Ramanuja again resumed his Sanskrit studies with Yadavacharya. Man, I wonder how... Anyways. After some days, out of compassion for Yadavacharya and with a desire to deliver him, he again began studying under his guidance. After some years, Ramanuja converted Yadavacharya to Vaishnava philosophy, whereupon his teacher became his disciple. At one point thereafter, Ramanuja began hearing of the qualities of a great Vaishnava guru in South India by the name of Śrī Yamuna-Acārya, and he eventually became Śrī Yamuna-Acārya's disciple. Later, he married. After his marriage, he began to teach boys in a Sanskrit school, and all the students liked him. And then from the 2000 class, it says, later on he married, and his wife was very quarrelsome. Her behavior was discourteous and uncooperative, and incidents would often take place, which he would somehow have to tolerate. One day, a disciple of Śrī Yamuna-Acārya named Kanchipurna came to the house of Ramanuja. He was from a very low caste family, but he was a very high class devotee. He came there along with his wife by the order of his Gurudev, and he now began to give his association to Rāmānujācārya. And from the 2000 class, a disciple of Śrī Yamunacārya, an elder godbrother of Rāmānuja named Kanchipurna, came to Rāmānuja's village along with his wife. Rāmānuja accepted Kanchipurna as a Shiksha Guru. One day, when Rāmānujācārya's wife was drawing water from the well, Kanchipurna's wife was also there drawing water. Some water from the bucket of Kanchipurna's wife fell into Rāmānuja's wife's bucket. She immediately became very angry and started to insult the wife of Kanchipurna with abusive language. When Kanchipurna returned, his wife told him of the incident at the well, and he immediately left the house of Rāmānujācārya. Upon hearing the reason why his Shiksha Guru had departed, Rāmānujācārya began to think, I should not be with this lady. Somehow I should give her up right away. One day, when Kanchipurna's wife was taking some water from a well, she met Rāmānuja's wife, who had also come to the well for drawing water. Oh, sorry. I'm not going to read it when it repeats the same thing. Because we don't have so much time. So then later, Śrī Yamunacārya sent Purnacārya to bring Rāmānuja to him in Śrī Rangam. However, Yamunacārya was very, however, Yamunacārya was very sick at that time, and by the time Rāmānuja arrived in Śrī Rangam, he had departed from the vision of the world. Purnacārya was sent there to bring him to Śrī Rangam. Rāmānuja used to give him so much honor, always offering him obeisances and treating him like his Shiksha Guru. While living with Rāmānuja, Purnacārya began to impart the instructions he had received from his Gurudev, Śrī Yamunacārya. One day, when Rāmānuja was teaching at the school, a hungry Brahmin came there. Rāmānuja told him, if you go to my house to beg, my wife will give you something. However, when the Brahmin went there, Rāmānuja's very cruel wife said, I can't give you anything. Go, get out of here. The Brahmin returned to Rāmānuja, who then told him to go back to his house and tell my wife, I'm coming from the house. Rāmānuja told this hungry Brahmin to say to his wife, I'm coming from the house of your father. He sent me to you, so please take this letter from him. So then Rāmānuja personally wrote the letter and he gave to the Brahmin to deliver to his wife. The letter stated, your brother will marry very soon, so you must come to your father's house. After reading the letter, Rāmānuja's wife began to honor that Brahmin, and she gave him a large quantity of delicious prasadam. I'm going to skip this 2000 class, even though it has more details. It's many more details, but we need to finish. Okay. So when his wife left to go to the house of her father, Rāmānuja also left that house. He went to Śrī Rangam to meet his Gurudev, Śrī Yamunacārya, but Yamunacārya had left his body just before Rāmānuja arrived. Rāmānuja saw that many devotees were walking with the transcendental body of Yamunacārya. All of his disciples were weeping as they carried his body to be placed in samadhi. I'm skipping this section. I'm skipping all the parts from the 2000 class with more details. So then Rāmānuja told them, I have accepted Yamunacārya as my Gurudev. I want to see his face. Yamunacārya's disciples stopped and lifted the cloth from his body. Rāmānuja could see that 3 of Yamunacārya's fingers were folded. And then he inquired from the disciples all around as to why this was, why his 3 fingers closed. And he wanted to know when it had happened. No one could answer. They said, we didn't notice it before. It must have happened just now. He promised in front of all present. He said, I will write the Sri Bhashya commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Then one of the fingers immediately became straight. He then said, I will take sannyas. And then the second finger relaxed. And lastly, he said, I will preach the mission of my Gurudev, Yamunacārya. At which time, the last finger relaxed and became straight. Seeing this, everyone present became astonished. Okay, I'm skipping this part where it repeats the same thing. Then after Yamunacharya was given samadhi, Ramanuja was elected to become the next acharya as Yamunacharya's successor. He immediately said, I will not become the next acharya right away. Give me time. Give me 2 years. He then spent some time with each of the prominent disciples of Yamunacharya. He served them and heard from them what they had learned from their Gurudev. Only after hearing from them for 2 years did he accept the position of acharya. Skipping this part. Later, the ruler of that country, King Kolotunga II, heard that Ramanujacharya was very strongly preaching his philosophy. Kolotunga II wanted him killed, fearing that if he remained alive, the Shaiva Sampradaya, comprised of so-called devotees of Lord Shiva, would be finished. He sent a message telling Ramanujacharya to come at once for a debate. Ramanujacharya and all his associates knew that the king wanted to kill him. His disciple Kuresh told him, Gurudev, please do not go. I will go in your place. Please give me your danda and sannyas cloth. Insisting, Kuresh told Kuresh took them from him and gave him his own white cloth. He told Ramanuja to leave that place at once. Then, having taken his guru's sannyas cloth and danda, Kuresh went to the palace of the king. In the palace, there was a great debate, during which Kuresh defeated all the king's pundits. However, Kuresh was alone. So the king's pundits told everyone that he had been defeated, that Kuresh had been defeated. They forcibly detained him and only released him after blinding him by plucking out both of his eyes. Oof. He then began to search for his Gurudev, who is now very far away. Fortunately, after some time, he came to the same village where Ramanujacharya was residing. Within that village, there were 2 disciples, one very rich and one very poor. Ramanujacharya told his disciples to go to the house of the rich devotee, because his group was more than 50 in total, and ask him to prepare some prasadam and a place to stay for all of them. 2 of Ramanujacharya's disciples went to the rich man's house and gave them this message. The rich man felt extremely happy and became totally absorbed in preparing for the arrival of Ramanujacharya and all of his devotees. However, he didn't come back to share these plans with his 2 godbrothers at the door. After waiting for some time, those disciples went back to Ramanujacharya and told him that they had gone to the house of that rich devotee, but he had left them waiting and had not come back to them. Ramanujacharya replied, "Oh, then we will all go to the house of that poor man." That very poor Brahmin used to go and beg for ingredients so that his wife could cook prasadam. He had only one piece of proper cloth, which his wife used. So when he would go begging, he would take the cloth of his wife. On that particular day, after midday, he could not collect any more, and he decided to return home. In the meantime, before his return, Śrī Rāmānujācārya with all of his disciples suddenly came to his house. His wife was very happy to see her Gurudev, but she also felt very ashamed because she had no proper cloth to wear. Śrī Rāmānuja understood this, and he gave her his own chadar. She wrapped this around herself and came in his presence. After she gave a mat for her Gurudev and his followers to sit on, she began to wonder, how shall I arrange prasadam for everyone? She remembered that one of her neighbors, who was a rich businessman, was very attracted to her and had lusty desires toward her. He had previously told her of his desires, but she was very chaste and had always rejected his proposals. However, in her current predicament, she went to that man and told him that she would fulfill his desire. She was thinking, what is the use of my chastity if I cannot serve my Gurudev? For my Gurudev, I should be prepared to do anything. She told that rich man, I am ready to do I am ready to do what you want. But in return, I want you to arrange many ingredients so that I can cook and give prasadam to my Gurudev and all of his disciples." Hearing this, the rich man became very joyful and gave her more than what she wanted. Taking all that he gave her, she prepared very good prasadam for all the devotees, and everyone was happy. While Rāmānujācārya and all the devotees were resting after prasadam, her husband returned home. He asked her, "Gurudev and all his disciples have come. How are we going to arrange for their needs?" She replied, "I have done everything. There is nothing to worry about. They have all taken prasadam and are resting now." Her husband asked, "How did you make all those arrangements?" She began to tell him of the story about the lusty neighbor. She said, "I was thinking that my Gurudev has come. If I cannot serve him, then what is the use of my chastity? So I went and told that lusty man that if he would give me all the ingredients to make very nice prasadam, then I would offer myself. He did as I asked. So now that it is night, I must go to him." Her husband told her, "I will come with you." It was raining at that time, so they took an umbrella and went to the house of that rich person along with the Mahaprasadam. The wife entered his home alone, and the man became very happy. The man asked her, "It is raining heavily tonight, and it appears you have come all alone. Didn't anyone bring you?" She told him, "My husband came with me." And she gave him the prasadam remnants of Rāmānujācārya. The lusty man took those remnants and became totally transformed. He fell flat at the lotus feet of that lady and begged her, "Excuse me, excuse me." The lady and her husband then returned to their house. The next day, their neighbor came to Rāmānujācārya and prayed to him, "I want to be initiated by you." Rāmānujācārya then initiated him. In the meantime, Quresh arrived in the village of the poor devotee couple where Rāmānujācārya was staying. Seeing Quresh, Rāmānujācārya called out his name. Quresh went to his Gurudev and wanted to take his darshan, but he had no eyes. Then Rāmānujācārya put his hand over Quresh's wounds, and 2 eyes at once manifested. He could see again. Afterward, Rāmānujācārya went to North India. After traveling for a long time, he eventually arrived in Kashmir. He went to Sharad Pit, the place of Sharada Devi, where he came across the Bodhayan Bhashya, the commentary of Vedanta Sutra. This Bodhayan commentary contained Vaishnava philosophical conclusions, not Mayavad theories. In the same library at Sharad Pit, he read that commentary, and in the night he took that book and escaped with Quresh. They fled from there, but the Kashmiri pundits followed them. Finally, the pundits took the book and returned to their own place. Rāmānujācārya was very unhappy, but Quresh told him, "Gurudev, do not be unhappy. I have also read that book, and I remember all its contents. I will write them down." Later, he did this, and he gave the writings to Rāmānujācārya. Rāmānujācārya then wrote his Sri Bhāsya on Vedanta Sutra and fulfilled the 3 desires of his Gurudev, Yamunacārya. Okay, and then this is from the 2000 class. This is the last paragraph. When Śrī Rāmānujācārya officially became the Acharya, he began very strongly preaching the cult of Śrī Yamunacārya. In South India, 2 impersonalist sects are very prominent, Shaiva and Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya's followers subscribe to the Vedanta Sutras like Sarva Kala Vidam Brahma and Tattvam Asi. They think themselves impersonal Brahma, God, and they think everything comes from Brahma. The Shaiva school considers Lord Shiva to be the ultimate truth, and they want to merge into him. This is the basic difference between the two. Śrī Rāmānujācārya refuted and defeated all impersonalism by his very strong and effective preaching. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai. Śrī Rāmānujācārya ki jai. The pious wife and her husband ki jai. The disciples of Yamunacharya. I don't know what her name is. And Kuresh ki jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. All right, everybody, I have to go. There's a bunch of people waiting for me right now. Kishore is saying the point. If he wants to be Acharya, you have to serve your god brothers. I mean, he's showing how he served his god brothers. Yes. Yes, this is the mood of a real Acharya. He doesn't feel he's an Acharya, but he's a servant. And yeah, so many instructions, especially on Guru Tattva and the pastimes. And yeah, just the proper behavior and etiquette. And yeah, so many inspiring stories of Rāmānujācārya. Jai Ho. All right, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to end the stream now, and I hope to see you all tomorrow for the story of Srivas Thakur's son leaving his body in the middle of Mahaprabhu's kirtan. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams.